Ever wonder why you were drawn to someone who caused you so much pain? Why did it feel like fate when it turned out to be a disaster? It's a question that often lingers long after the storm has passed. You look back and think, how did I get here? It's not just a simple story about narcissists. It's a story about you, about why you were chosen to go through this, and why it's not just something you need to heal from, but something that can completely transform your life. We've all heard the phrase, everything happens for a reason. But what if this painful relationship wasn't just a random mistake? What if you were put into this situation for a deeper purpose, not because you're broken, but because you're strong enough to come out of it stronger? The truth is, narcissists don't just pick anyone. They don't choose at random. They see something in you. They see your energy, your willingness to give, to love, and they use that at least until you realize that you are worth more than just crumbs. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how you gave more than you received? How you tried to fix things, thinking it would get better? You thought, if I just do this, if I just try a little harder. It's not your fault. It's not that you're too sensitive or too emotional. It's just that you were trained to love others more than yourself. But here's where the magic starts. Once you start questioning all that chaos, something in you starts to shift. You begin to see your own value, and that changes everything. Now, before we dive deeper into this, if you're finding this video helpful or if this resonates with you, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure to subscribe for more content on breaking free from toxic cycles. Let's break it down together. This journey we're about to talk about isn't easy, but it's one you're ready for. Let's get into it. When you first meet a narcissist, it feels like destiny, doesn't it? It's as if the stars aligned and you were drawn into something bigger than yourself. They make you feel like you're the most important person in the room, like no one else has ever understood you the way they do. It's intoxicating, like a fairy tale. And then out of nowhere, it becomes a nightmare. One minute, everything seems perfect, and the next, you're questioning your reality. It's easy to believe you stumbled into this situation by accident, that it was just one of those things. But here's the truth. You didn't just happen to meet them. You were chosen. Not because you're weak or flawed, but because you were open. You were giving. You were ready for something new, something to help you grow. And the narcissists saw that. They saw your willingness to love deeply, to connect, and to give more than most people do. They saw someone they could mold, someone who could be manipulated. It's easy to blame yourself when things start to unravel. You wonder, why me? Why did I end up in this mess? The thing is, it's not about you being a victim or being broken. It's about you being ready to face something that was going to change you forever. Narcissists are experts at finding people who don't yet know their worth. They don't want to destroy you. They want to feed off your energy, your love, your goodness. They want to draw out everything they can from you, slowly making you lose touch with who you really are. They choose people who are still in the process of discovering their own strength. And it's not about what they see in you. It's about what they want to take from you. They're not interested in real love. They're interested in control. They know that someone who's still learning to trust themselves, someone who's still learning their own boundaries, is the perfect target. It's not your fault. It's not because you're weak. It's because you have the capacity to love deeply, and narcissists exploit that. But here's the thing, and this is crucial to understand. Being chosen by a narcissist doesn't mean you're destined for pain forever. No, it's a wake-up call. They entered your life to show you something you needed to see. They entered your life to force you to face the things about yourself that you were avoiding. And believe me, as difficult as that sounds, it's the first step towards reclaiming your power. I know it's tough to hear this. especially if you're still in the middle of the storm. If you're questioning everything, wondering how you ended up here, just remember, it's not about what they did to you. It's about what they're about to teach you, if you're willing to face it. If you're starting to understand this and want to hear more about how to take back control, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it, and make sure to subscribe so we can keep diving into these truths together. I know it's hard to see at the moment, but what you're going through is a turning point. This is the setup, the stage being set for something bigger. You're not just learning about the narcissist, you're learning about yourself. The narcissist wasn't in your life to love you. That might sound harsh, but it's the truth. They weren't there to make you feel whole, to support you, or to build a real relationship. No, their role was different. They were there to mirror the parts of you that still needed healing. The parts of you that felt unworthy, the parts you had buried, the parts of you that were afraid to stand up for yourself. They came into your life to reflect all those wounds you hadn't yet faced. They weren't offering love, they were showing you what needed to change inside you. At first, it might have been hard to see this, especially when they gave you everything you thought you wanted. They mirrored your hopes and dreams, made you feel special. But that's how it works, right? The narcissist will give just enough to keep you hooked. They'll show you what you crave, love, attention, validation. But it's always conditional. It's never real. It's like a cheap imitation of the love you've always wanted. It's hollow. And eventually, you start to feel it. That gut feeling that something isn't right, that this isn't the kind of love you deserve. But here's where it gets tricky. Over time, their manipulation starts to eat away at your sense of self. You start shrinking. You start second-guessing yourself. You start doubting your own intuition, your own worth. When they tell you things like, you're too sensitive, or you're overreacting, you begin to believe it. You question your feelings, your thoughts, and your needs. What's worse, you start excusing their behavior. You tell yourself it's your fault. Maybe you haven't been patient enough, maybe you're too much, or maybe you just need to try harder. Slowly, you lose sight of who you really are. This is the erosion of self. It happens piece by piece, little by little. The more you let them manipulate you, the more you begin to believe that your needs don't matter. You stop trusting yourself. You stop standing up for what you need, for what you deserve. The person you were when you first met them, full of energy, love, and confidence, starts to fade. You start to lose yourself in the chaos they create, thinking it's somehow your responsibility to fix it. But here's the truth. It was never your responsibility. You were never broken. They didn't target you because you were weak. They targeted you because you were capable of deep love. And that love, it was misdirected. You were giving it to someone who didn't know how to appreciate it, let alone reciprocate it. The narcissist thrives on taking that love, draining it, and leaving you with nothing. They prey on your ability to care for others, your willingness to give. And as they take, they chip away at your sense of worth. You give so much, but in the end you feel empty, questioning your own value. Think about it. How many times have you been told you were too much, too emotional, too needy? It's easy to believe it when someone keeps repeating it, and after a while you start to wonder if maybe they're right. But deep down, you know you're not too much. You know you're worthy of love that respects who you are, not love that requires you to shrink down to fit someone else's idea of you. This is why it's so important to understand that you were never weak. You were never too much. You were simply giving love to the wrong person. And that's where the real pain begins. It's not just about the narcissist's behavior. It's about the way they made you question yourself. They wanted you to believe you weren't enough so they could keep you under their control. But the truth is, you were more than enough. You just gave your love to someone who didn't deserve it. And that's the thing. Once you realize this, everything changes. You start to see that their manipulation wasn't about you at all. It was about their need for power. They needed to break you down so they could feel better about themselves. The narcissist thrives on making others feel small because it elevates their own sense of superiority. But the more they break you, the stronger you become when you finally recognize what's happening. It's a painful realization, but it's also liberating. When you understand that they weren't able to love you but only reflect your wounds, you begin to take back control. You realize that you can choose to heal those wounds. You can choose to stop giving your energy to someone who only takes and never gives back. You can choose to trust yourself again, to believe in your own worth. The narcissist might have come into your life to break you down, but in doing so, they've actually given you the tools to rebuild yourself, stronger, wiser, and more confident than before. If you're starting to see the pattern and feel like this might apply to you, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who might need to hear this message and subscribe to stay connected. Remember, this journey isn't easy, but you don't have to walk it alone. We're here to help you break free from toxic patterns and reclaim your life. The narcissist may have mirrored your pain, but now it's time to mirror your strength. It's time to stop doubting yourself. It's time to remember who you are, who you've always been, and who you're about to become. The real you is waiting to emerge, and the narcissist's game is over. The narcissist didn't create your wounds, but they sure did expose them. It might sound harsh, but it's an essential part of understanding your journey. You didn't go looking for pain. You didn't ask for this kind of emotional turmoil. But here's the hard truth. The narcissist didn't put those wounds in you. They only brought them to the surface. The pain you felt wasn't random. It was a wake-up call, a sign from the universe, telling you it was time to stop ignoring the parts of yourself that were craving self-respect, that were asking for your attention for far too long. When you find yourself tangled in a toxic relationship, it's easy to think that the hurt and confusion you're feeling are a result of the other person's actions. But in reality, those feelings are often pointing you to something deeper inside of you that needs to be addressed. That's why the narcissist came into your life, to mirror back those parts of you that you hadn't healed yet. Maybe it was that old belief that you didn't deserve love unless you were constantly giving, constantly proving yourself. Maybe it was that fear of abandonment, that part of you that told you your worth depended on someone else. When the narcissist started to manipulate you, when they chipped away at your confidence, that's when you were faced with the truth that you had been living with these wounds all along. The truth that your worth had never been in question. But you had been carrying these invisible burdens, trying to please others, hiding parts of yourself, and never really listening to your own needs. The narcissist didn't put that pain in you. They just made you face it. And it's painful, isn't it? It's painful to realize that you've been living with these silent wounds, that you've allowed them to shape your relationships, your choices, and even your happiness. But here's the key. It's only when you confront these wounds, when you stop running from them, that healing can begin. Healing starts when you look at the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding, when you stop pretending everything's fine and admit that something inside of you needs to be fixed, needs to be healed. This is where the transformation happens. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's not pretty, but it's real. As you begin to confront your pain, you start to reclaim what you thought you lost. You start to reclaim your voice, your power, your peace. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop questioning your worth. You start setting boundaries, not because you have to, but because you deserve to. You stop tolerating emotional chaos, because you know you're worth more than that. It's a slow process, but it's a powerful one. What's incredible is that you can trace back your healing to this moment, the moment when you stopped running, the moment when you finally said, enough. And this doesn't just change your relationships with others. It changes your relationship with yourself. You start to see your worth in a new light. You stop allowing the emotional turmoil to control you. You start acting from a place of self-respect, not from fear or insecurity. It's easy to feel like you're a victim in these situations. It's easy to think that the narcissist has taken everything from you. But the truth is, what they've done is show you how much you already had. They've shown you the strength that's always been there, buried deep beneath the layers of self-doubt and fear. When you start to confront the wounds, when you start to heal, you'll realize you were never broken. You were just misled into believing that you weren't enough. As you begin to heal, you start to feel more at peace. You stop letting the chaos from others drag you into the storm. You stop allowing toxic relationships to dictate your mood and your life. This is the real work. It's about regaining control, reclaiming your life, and choosing yourself above everything else. And in doing so, you break the cycle. You stop allowing yourself to be drawn into relationships that drain you, that leave you questioning your worth. Healing isn't easy. It's not some magic switch you can flip overnight. But as you go through this process, something amazing starts to happen. You begin to see yourself differently. You begin to stand up for what you deserve, without guilt or hesitation. You stop letting other people's issues become your problems. You start to trust your own judgment again. And most importantly, you realize that your worth was never in question. You were always enough. At the end of the day, breaking the cycle means letting go of the beliefs and patterns that kept you stuck. It means learning to trust yourself again, to believe in your own value. You stop tolerating the emotional roller coaster that the narcissist put you on, and you start creating a life that's grounded in peace and self-respect. The narcissist might have played a part in your story, but they are not the author of your life. You are. If you're feeling the weight of this message and want to go deeper into your healing process, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Share it with someone who may need to hear this, and be sure to subscribe for more. We're all on this journey together, and it's time to start healing one step at a time. The journey to reclaim your life, your power, and your peace has already started. Don't stop now. You've come too far to turn back. This is the part where things start to shift. When you finally stop shrinking, stop apologizing, and stop making excuses for yourself. This is where you begin to take back your power. It's not an easy road, but it's the most rewarding one you'll ever walk. For so long, you might have felt like you were walking on eggshells, trying to keep the peace, trying to make others happy. You minimized your own needs because you believed that's what love required. But here's the thing, love doesn't ask you to disappear. It asks you to show up as yourself, fully, without shrinking. When you stop apologizing for existing, when you stop making excuses for why you can't stand up for yourself, that's when you begin to rebuild. You start living life on your terms. And yes, it's hard. You might face resistance from others, and even from yourself. You might question if it's worth it, especially when the old patterns try to creep back in. But the truth is, it's all part of the process. The moment you decide to stop tolerating less than what you deserve is the moment you begin to rise. Rebuilding your life doesn't mean everything magically falls into place. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, it's painful. You will have days where you want to give up. You'll have moments where you doubt yourself, wonder if you're making the right choices, or feel like you're not making progress fast enough. But healing doesn't happen in neat, tidy steps. It happens in fits and starts. Sometimes you'll take 2 steps forward, then 1 step back. But that doesn't mean you're not healing. It means you're learning to face what you've avoided for too long. It's easy to think that healing should be easy. We've all seen those perfect, polished images of self-love and recovery, but the truth is, it's messy. The journey involves confronting the parts of yourself you've been running from. The fears, the doubts, the shame. It's not about feeling comfortable, it's about stepping outside of your comfort zone. It's about challenging yourself to do the hard things, even when you don't feel ready. And yes, it's painful. But every bit of that pain is a step towards the person you're meant to be. Every tear, every struggle, every moment of discomfort is pushing you toward a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. And that's where true healing begins. It's when you finally stop running. When you stop pretending you're fine. When you stop minimizing your pain. When you stop believing you're not worthy of a better life. Because you are. For the first time, you start to realize that self-respect doesn't come from what others think of you. It comes from what you believe about yourself. And that belief starts with the understanding that you don't have to sacrifice yourself to earn love. You don't have to prove your worth. For too long, you might have thought that love was about giving up parts of yourself to make someone else happy. That's not love. That's sacrifice. Real love doesn't require you to shrink. It doesn't demand that you lose your identity in the process. Love means standing tall in who you are, even when others don't understand it. It means being comfortable with yourself, with your needs, with your boundaries. It's about learning to say no when something doesn't serve you, and yes to the things that help you grow. And here's the thing about rebuilding your life. You'll begin to see that you've always been worthy. You've always had what it takes to build a life of peace, happiness, and love. But first, you have to believe it. You have to believe that you don't have to sacrifice yourself to be loved. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. You are worthy right now, just as you are. And the more you embrace that truth, the more you will start to attract the people and experiences that align with your new vision of yourself. This process isn't just about changing the way you see others. It's about changing the way you see yourself. It's about learning to honor yourself, to listen to your needs, to speak up when something doesn't feel right. You don't have to apologize for having boundaries. You don't have to feel guilty for putting yourself first. It's not selfish, it's self-respect. I know it's hard. Rebuilding your life takes time. It's not about getting everything right on the first try. It's about learning to trust yourself again, to honor your emotions, and to stand firm in your worth. But it's worth it. When you start living life on your terms, you'll notice that everything changes. You'll stop attracting people who don't appreciate you and start attracting those who do. You'll stop feeling like you're not enough, because you'll finally see that you've always been more than enough. If you're feeling this shift, and if this message is resonating with you, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with someone who could use a reminder of their worth, and subscribe so you don't miss the next step in your healing journey. Remember, the path to rebuilding yourself starts with believing that you're worthy of the life you want. You've got this. Rebuilding your life is hard work, but it's the most important work you'll ever do. And every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you deserve. So let's keep going. Together. The narcissist may have triggered your pain, but they didn't define you. They didn't write your story. They didn't make you who you are. They might have knocked you down, manipulated you, and made you question everything. But the truth is, you were always more than their game. The most powerful thing you can do now is to take those painful lessons and use them to rebuild yourself. Because what defines you is how you rise from that pain, how you learn to take control of your own narrative. Think back to how you felt when everything started unraveling. You probably felt lost, confused, and powerless. The narcissist made you believe that you were nothing without them. They made you feel like you couldn't survive without their approval, their validation. And for a while, maybe you believed that. Maybe you waited for them to change, or you hoped they'd see your worth. But here's the twist. They were never going to validate you. They were never going to see your value. They were too focused on themselves to even understand what you needed. But now something has shifted. You're starting to see that you don't need them to feel worthy. You don't need their approval to know who you are. This is where the real change happens. You start to take back your power. You stop looking outside yourself for validation. You stop relying on others to tell you your worth. For the first time, you're raising your own standards, and that's a game changer. When you begin to shift your narrative, you stop settling for less than you deserve. You stop tolerating emotional manipulation or mistreatment. You stop compromising who you are just to keep someone else happy. You start setting boundaries that protect your peace, and you stop feeling guilty for doing so. This is where you begin to reclaim your life. Think about the last time you allowed someone to walk all over you, to take advantage of your kindness. Maybe it was someone who convinced you that love meant sacrifice, that you had to give up parts of yourself to make them happy. Maybe it was someone who used your empathy against you, who made you feel like you were always in the wrong. Well, no more. You're done with that. You're done apologizing for existing. You're done trying to make everyone else comfortable at your own expense. I remember a friend telling me how they stayed in a relationship way longer than they should have, always making excuses for the other person's behavior. They kept telling themselves, "It's not that bad. Maybe I just need to try harder." But after some time, they started realizing that their self-worth had been chipped away piece by piece. They were living for someone else, always second-guessing themselves, always hoping for something that would never come. It wasn't until they decided to break the cycle, to stop making excuses, that things started to change. And that's the key. As soon as they raised their standards and walked away from that toxic relationship, they started attracting healthier, more respectful connections. This is exactly what you're doing now. You're shifting your narrative. You're not the victim anymore. You're the victor. You're reclaiming your life, your peace, and your power. You're rewriting your story, and this time you're the one holding the pen. And this is the part where the real freedom begins. You stop tolerating the chaos. You stop getting pulled into the emotional drama that once controlled your life. Instead, you demand peace. You demand respect. You stop settling for anything less than what you truly deserve. You become the person who no longer accepts anything that diminishes you. You become someone who speaks up, who stands firm, and who isn't afraid to walk away when necessary. The narcissist might have left a mark on your life, but they didn't leave a scar. That scar is a reminder of how strong you are, of what you've survived, and how far you've come. You've learned the hardest lessons, but now you know better. You've experienced pain, but now you've grown. You are no longer afraid of being alone or being too much for others. You know your worth, and you're not going to settle for anything less. Now is your time. You are rewriting your story. No more waiting for someone else to come in and fix things. You're not the same person you were when you first got caught in this cycle. You're stronger, wiser, and more aware of what you deserve. You're in control now. You're the author of your life. And from this point on, you're writing a new chapter, one that's filled with peace, respect, and self-love. If this message is resonating with you, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe. This is just the beginning. We're all on this journey of growth and healing together, and there's so much more to come. Let's continue rewriting our stories, one step at a time. The new you is waiting. We often ask ourselves, why did this happen to me? Why did the universe bring a narcissist into your life, someone who caused so much pain and confusion? The truth is, the universe didn't bring them into your life to punish you. It wasn't some cruel twist of fate. No, the narcissist was placed in your life for a reason. It was a pivotal moment, one that was meant to awaken you to the truth of your worth and your power. It's hard to see that in the middle of the storm, but when you look back, you'll realize that it wasn't about suffering, it was about awakening. Think about it for a second. Before everything went downhill, Where were you emotionally? Chances are you were giving so much of yourself away, trying to make things work, trying to keep the peace, trying to be enough for someone who never really saw your value. You were in a cycle, one that had been playing out for a long time, maybe even before you met the narcissist. And that's where they came in, not to destroy you, but to disrupt that cycle. They were the wake-up call you didn't even know you needed. They came to force you to see yourself clearly, to help you understand that you were never meant to keep living in survival mode, in the shadow of someone else's needs. You weren't chosen for destruction. You were chosen for your awakening. The relationship with the narcissist wasn't meant to break you permanently. It was meant to break you open. The pain was real, but it was the kind of pain that forces growth. It pushed you to confront parts of yourself that were hidden, parts that had been neglected or ignored. Those wounds were deep, and it took this intense experience to bring them to the surface. It wasn't fair, but it was necessary for you to see what was really happening. The narcissist played their part, but they were never the main character in this story. You were, and now you're ready to reclaim your narrative. In this moment of awakening, something powerful starts to happen. You realize that you were never meant to be the victim in this story. It might have felt like you were trapped in a cycle of pain, but that's not where this chapter ends. You were meant to break the chains that have held you back. You were meant to stop the dysfunction from repeating. The narcissist showed you where the cycle needed to end, and now it's up to you to write the next chapter of your life. One where you stop settling for less, one where you stand up for yourself and demand the respect and love you deserve. Here's the real revelation. Everything you've been through wasn't in vain. It wasn't just about surviving or enduring. It was about learning the lessons you needed to learn to become the person you're meant to be. The person who doesn't tolerate emotional manipulation, who doesn't settle for crumbs of affection, who knows their worth and isn't afraid to stand firm in it. You've been given the opportunity to break free from old patterns, to heal and to rise. And that's a gift, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. What happens next is completely up to you. The power is in your hands now. You get to decide how the rest of your story goes. You get to decide what's worth your time, your energy, and your love. No more tolerating relationships that drain you. No more giving to those who take without ever giving back. You have the ability to stop the cycle of emotional chaos. You can choose peace. You can choose respect. You can choose love. Love that starts with you. As you begin to realize your true worth, you'll see that everything is changing. You're no longer waiting for someone else to tell you who you are. You've already figured that out. You've learned to trust your intuition again, to speak up, to say no when it's necessary, and to walk away from what no longer serves you. The narcissist may have come into your life to disrupt, but now you're using that disruption to build something better, something stronger, something that's yours to control. If this message is resonating with you, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who could use a reminder of their own strength, and don't forget to subscribe. You're not alone in this journey. Together, we'll continue to break free from toxic patterns and build lives full of love, respect, and true empowerment. This is your time to reclaim your power. You were never meant to be the victim. You were meant to break free, to rise, and to create a life on your terms. The chains are gone. You are free. Now go and live like it. The chaos caused by the narcissist might have shattered you, but it also rebuilt you. You might have felt like you were broken beyond repair at one point. It's hard to see the light when everything around you seems dark, and when the person who was supposed to love you was actually the one destroying you from the inside out. But here's the truth. That chaos wasn't meant to be your end. It was meant to break down the parts of you that were holding you back from stepping into your true power. It pushed you to face your wounds, your fears, and your limiting beliefs. And through all of that, you began to rebuild yourself, stronger, wiser, and more in tune with who you truly are. You're no longer bound by the past. The story that the narcissist tried to write for you is over. You get to decide what happens next. You have the power to rewrite your future. The pain you've experienced, the manipulation, the confusion, none of it defines you. It was all a part of the process that led you to this moment where you now stand tall, ready to rise. So what happens now? Now is your time to fully embrace your power. You're no longer someone who hides or compromises their worth. You know your value, and you're not afraid to show it. You're stepping into a new chapter of your life, one where peace, respect, and true love are the foundations. The narcissist may have tried to take everything from you, but they also gave you the greatest gift, the opportunity to become the best version of yourself. Now that you've gone through this transformation, there's nothing that can stop you from living a life that's aligned with your true self. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more empowering content. You're not alone on this journey. Together, we rise. Let's keep moving forward, reclaiming our power, and building the lives we deserve.